Perfect.
Hi, everyone. This is Norman Kochnak from Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnak. Now, you may have quickly logged in, guys, to another session which went wrong. We apologise for that. We had an interruption. It was something that happens with live television, or live channeling. So we're very happy to have Chris Vernon here, all the way from Kent, from somewhere near some grapevine town. I'm not sure what's the name of it.
Sevenoaks Vine.
Sevenoaks Vine. I'll get it right. Debasis, have you heard of Sevenoaks Vine?
No, not been to Kent, Norman.
Okay. All right. We've also got the illustrious Debasis Sen, looking resplendent in his grey on grey outfit. He's gone to the latest chic Kolkata address to get that, and is quietly confident about today. I'm pretty sure that India are going to bat, and also bat very long. So we've got some. How long have we got now? We've got some
half an hour,
40 minutes before the start of play. So we'll have a little chat now about, first of all, what transpired somewhat yesterday. We've got the likes of obviously Joe Root's batting performance, Bradman-esque yesterday. We'll get Chris's point of view and Debasis' point of view. It was quite superb. He's now gone to the third highest run scorer for England, behind Gooch and Cook. He's surpassed Alex Stewart, and he probably is heading towards at least second. Whether he reaches first will depend on a lot of things, but he still is only 30 years up of age, isn't he? So he's got quite a few years in him. I thought Cook retired early, didn't he? How old was Cook? Cook was 32 or 3?
33, I think. I think he was 33, yeah.
Well, 33 to me is extremely, I would argue, young. He could have done it. He could have done it. Well, I don't know whether he could have beat Tendulkar, but he was certainly able to get more runs. But I'll be curious to see how long actually Root intends playing for. But I'm sure he'll go into second spot at some stage in the near future, and be well up the order in terms of numbers of runs. All right, a bit on yesterday from Chris, and a bit on today from Debasis, because I know Debasis always looks forward. Chris will start looking back. That's my prediction. Chris will be saying, "Oh, wasn't it great yesterday?" And Debasis will say, "Isn't it great today?"
It'll be even better today.
I think England are. I mean, okay, the game looks like a draw, but we'll see after today what's going on. All right, over to you, Chris.
No, I think Joe Root could go past Gooch this series. I think he's 430 odd runs behind. If he has a good series, which he started well, there's no reason why he couldn't go past that. But no, I think England have just made a bit of a statement in the test so far. I think that they've been slightly underestimated by a lot of people, probably including the Indian side. I don't think anyone would have predicted that England could put 550 on the board in seemingly pretty easy circumstances. They've had clear game plans. They've clearly done their research and their homework to let's treat Ashwin with respect. Let's take the Ashwin factor out and play out the Bumrah as they have done, and then cash in on the weaker bowlers. And, I think India have probably got their team wrong. I think that there's a lot of question marks and already in the press over why Yadav wasn't picked, and maybe why a third seamer wasn't picked. And I think this is only going to be good for England. And I think that 2 days in that heat, in the field, scoreboard pressure, the pitch is breaking up. I think that England might take some wickets today. I think that England will. I think we could be sat here tomorrow morning with India saying that we need to bat well to save the game, not this is going to be a draw. So,
look, yeah, to me, and I'll let Debasis speak next, but just very quickly, this
match. I totally agree with Chris, because India has all the catching to do from here on. Obviously, 555, and that's a huge total first innings, and that's a golden rule here in India, is that you score big in the first innings and half of the match is won. So India has all the catching to do, and the bottom line is that with the footholds now breaking up, so it will be very important for England bowlers, particularly the likes of Anderson and Archer, to utilize, as we hear it from Ben Stokes yesterday during his press conference. He did mention that there was some spin, bounce, and also reverse swing. And we know how good James Anderson is. Obviously, he is playing in India. but then he had a lot of success against Virat Kohli in recent times. So I think, and also the likes of Leach and Dom Best will be very, very crucial. Is how they utilize the conditions. Obviously, they are coming from Sri Lanka, testing some success, both those English spinners. So that will do wonders for their confidence. But then the bottom line is that India, the key will be how the top four bats. Obviously, the likes of Rohit Sharma and Chiteshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli. So the top four for India will be. And I think one more thing is that, and Chris did mention that India did wrong in picking their playing 11. But I would just add to this is that the absence of Ravindra Jadeja.
Massively.
I think for me, Ravindra Jadeja is a huge factor in India. Obviously, he has done well in abroad as well in conditions which is alien. But then the big factor for India is that they are missing Ravindra Jadeja big time in this test match and in the series, I would say.
Let's not forget his fielding, not just his batting and bowling contribution. He does match-winning things like run-outs, catches that other players aren't capable of doing, and that can turn a match as much as a batting or bowling performance. And I think India have some great fielders, there's no doubt, but they do miss him. He's enormous to the side and underrated heavily by people outside of the team. Within the team, they all know how good he is. I've also been told, Debasis and Chris, that Jadeja is also a very good talker on the field. He's very good motivationally. Because he's got a very calm head on his shoulders. He's also very cocky. He's very, he's positive thinking. He revs Kohli up at certain stages, feeds off other players, and we always talk about Punt talking a lot. Pujara and Rohit Sharma being kind of vice captains, and obviously then the likes of Rahane being the cool vice captain and Kohli being the leader. But Jadeja is literally a leader on that field as well. And I've seen him on occasions when he's fielded that he's actually gone to a person after the fielder well and actually revved them up and said, well done. And that is, if you're a fielder in a team and you make a mistake, you want people to support you, of course. And you want them to also support you when you do well. And that's a key component, if that makes any sense. When you hear Punt talk, he does talk motivationally, but not necessarily about good fielding. He doesn't talk necessarily, he talks more about good bowling. Does that make sense? It's a very interesting dynamic with Jadeja. He has the ability to motivate all fielders, because when he's on the field, you want to do as well as him, don't you?
And the good thing about player like Jadeja is that he's a multi-dimensional player. So he can bat well, he can contribute lower down the order, he can be handy with the ball, breaks partnership, and he's a live wire on the field. Means he can just pull out of the thin air a brilliant, splendid effort on the field, and that can turn the match whole on its head. So I think, but then one thing that I would like to mention here is you just mentioned about the fielding aspect. Obviously, the legend Sunil Gavaskar in the commentary yesterday, he just ripped apart about the fielding of the Indian. Rohit Sharma missing that dolly of Ben Stokes, and one thing that has to be noted is that back in Australia as well, we did saw that Indians not being that great on the field. So that is something, because in India you need to grab all those opportunities if you want to make a statement. So herein lies a big thing that you need to be good at the field as well.
Actually, there's something that people don't talk about, and I'm a big advocate of that. The ball's condition also affects catching. People often argue a brand new ball's hard to catch. I would argue it's very easy to catch because it's much clearer, it's brighter. When it's coming in the outfield, whether it's in the air or at body height, you can see it much better, much earlier. The more worn ball becomes more obscure, both in the air and also at a lower catch, and can be very difficult to catch. And that makes it even more difficult, particularly because of the way that the Indian wickets and outfield roughs the ball up even more, and you can't use saliva. People forget, I'm not sure what your experience is, but I was a wicketkeeper in my day, and I found it much better to catch a new ball because it was clearer, it glistened, it was there was no issue with it. And I found that an incredibly interesting point. What do you think, Chris and Debasis, about that?
No, it's no, I get both sides. You know, I think I've played probably 90% of my cricket in my life in England, and the ball doesn't really deteriorate as much as it would do in India. But I think the fielding is a big point, and I think we touched on it yesterday morning that there's watching it and England be picking up on it. India looked pretty ragged in the field yesterday, and I think that Rishabh Pant isn't a great wicketkeeper. I think that he fumbles a lot. There's the odd miss run out, or tidies things up. And I'm not saying it has a big influence, but they'll be sat there at the end thinking Rohit Sharma's had 2 days in the field. He's just dropped that catch. He's now got to go out and face probably the best seam bowler in the world and Jofra Archer running in. If he's not 100% of his game, and which dropping a catch like that, but you're potentially not, and England won't declare overnight. They'll be going out and batting for probably another hour this morning just to get them out there. They've had 2 days. What India will be wanting is 45 minutes before play, England to declare, and that won't happen. England will want Sharma, Bumrah back out there bowling another spell, and they're just going to run them into the ground. And I think that drop catches, there was a lot of misfields, there's a couple of run-out opportunities, and things like Kohli wasting 2 of his reviews on stupid reviews, really. I mean, one of the LBWs off Stokes was just ludicrous. I mean, the ball went up in the air for a catch. They all tried to catch it. They knew he hadn't hit his pad. And, I think that it just shows, I think, that India is slightly, not rattled, but that they probably weren't expecting England to come out with quite as much fight. And I think that I was chatting to someone last night about it. I think that England will have a different approach to the bowling. I think that the control will come from the seamers, whereas India were relying on the control to come from the spinners. And Ben Stokes, you've got 3 very good seamers in reverse swinging conditions. And I think that might tell. The most dangerous part of the game yesterday was when Ishant Sharma and Bumrah were bowling with the reverse swinging ball, and England have got 3 seamers to rotate in that position, not 2, so they don't have to worry about bowling them into the ground so much and them getting tired.
Look, I accept all of that, and I think you've got very valid points, and India certainly are on the back foot at the moment. England are in ascendancy. But as we know, India haven't batted yet. And despite all the tiredness of out there in the field, these Indian batters know their conditions pretty well. They've played many a match in excessive heats on difficult wickets. So despite all the relevant facts you brought up, I keep thinking back to Luxman and Dravid when they came out and returned that match. Australia were all over India on that match, weren't they? They were all over them in a very damning spot. And those 2 came in and batted outrageously long and well. Now, I'm not trying to pump up India and play down England, but the reality is that we have to judge this after the stage play. India's batting, I'm excited about that. I don't even think that it's going to be a great day no matter what. You're saying England might bat a bit longer, so be it. But India will win bat today, and will bat probably the better part of 2+ sessions. And I think you'll see the defiance of India coming out today. And I think that's going to be extremely intriguing. Yes, Chris. But
I think another thing to mention, if you flip it on its head, is that you say that we haven't seen India bat on it. That's true, but you haven't seen England bowl on it. And I think England will out-bowl India in this test. I think that Leach and Bess will out-bowl Sundar and Nadeem. I think they were poor. And I think that the seamers will, as I said, it's easy to say India haven't batted, but you haven't seen England bowl. And what you've got to remember is that you say that India are used to these conditions, but how many times have that top 5 or 6 gone out and batted, chasing a score of 600, having fielded for 2 days? They've probably never done it. I think this is, I would doubt that even Kohli and Rahane, who are really experienced, I bet they've never fielded for 2 days in India before, and then they had to go out and bat. So that's got a factor as well. So it's going to be interesting. And I'm not particularly biased. I'm just calling it as I see it. And if it was the other way around, I'd be saying the same. But I think that this is a potentially first for a lot of those Indian players. Ashwin's only ever bowled more overs in innings once in his Test career. I think he bowled 50 overs. Yeah. And you've got the second test starts in 3 days, and they've got to be thinking, well, Sharma and Bumrah bowled a lot of overs there, more than we thought they would, and that raises more questions for the selection going forward.
Well, you're going to see there's nothing wrong with having Siraj in the backup situation to come in next match.
For sure.
Debasis, your thoughts?
But no, I think that obviously the selectors, the team management has been spot on in picking Ishant Sharma and Jasprit Bumrah because Ishant Sharma has been an experienced fast bowler. Then Siraj has only made his debut in Australia, so nothing wrong with that. But then definitely they would have done well to get in Kuldeep Yadav, as Chris said right at the start of this broadcast, that India should have been wise in picking Yadav instead of having Nadeem, because obviously he did well whatever opportunities he got for India. But then, especially when you have someone like Joe Root, who has been very successful against a left-arm spinner, sweeping them apart. And because can I just ask Chris one thing about Joe Root? Obviously, what makes him so special sweeping means, obviously, I was just going through a video of his Root Academy, and found that he has been working hard on his sweeping. So, and it's only, was it that after 2016 onwards he tried to master this aspect of his game?
Yeah, I think that it's been a massive thing for Joe Root for a while has been considered one of the sort of the top four. There's four batters, aren't there? And Babar Azam is now creeping into that sort of number 5 role, but it's been Kohli, Williamson, himself, and Smith for a while. They're big.
You say Cody or Kane?
Kohli, Williamson,
Kane,
Steve Smith, and Root. And I think that he's been, for a while, I think he is by far and away in that category of those four guys. But his conversion rate has been a big thing. And if you look at his record in India, I think he averages 60 in Asia, which is phenomenal, really, as an overseas Englishman. His conversion rate from 100 to 200, he's got 20 test hundreds and 10 scores of over 150 and 5 double hundreds. I mean, which is every 1 in 2 times he gets 100, he gets 150, and they talk about getting daddy hundreds or big hundreds, and that's what he does. Of his last 5 hundreds, I think four of them have been over 180 or 4 double hundreds. So it's really good. I think playing the spin has been a massive thing for the guys, and there's certain techniques you look at. But the new coach came in, Chris Silverwood came in, and I think his philosophy has gone very much back to the old school, old-fashioned Dom Sibley, let's grind out 600 in first innings. Trevor Bayliss would have said, we'll get 400 in a day and we'll be really positive about it. Whereas I think now it's, let's just bat and bat, and we'll try and bat once. And no, I think that it's exciting. It was good to see Ben Stokes come out and counter-attack when he did. He was under pressure, it was turning and bouncing, and he didn't think, I'm just going to block it, I'm going to take Nadeem on, and he reverse swept and hit him for a couple of sixes and put the pressure back on. And I think that batting lineup really complements each other, because you've got an aggressive middle order, but the top order is very solid and sort of attritional, which is what you need in India, I think.
Now, Chris, I know it's 3 or 4 in the morning in England, and obviously you've been dreaming of an England victory. Are you actually awake? Because it sounds like you're in this perfect England bliss at the moment with what you're saying, and it's impressive. But our comments on the side beg to differ. There's been quite an onslaught of discussion as you've been speaking, which clearly is very interesting. The most important thing is there's several things at stake here. The World Test Championships, which is absolutely huge. And Steve Smith yesterday was almost saying, we've got a chance that everything falls into place. Well, they shouldn't. Really, these two teams should be battling for that spot against New Zealand. In my opinion, a 2-2 draw will be horrible for both sides, because they're both going to probably miss out then. The reality is the way that England are batting certainly will save more games than lose, but there has to be, that could be go against them if India bat well, because it's likely to be a draw if India bat well. We need to see a little bit more of a win at all cost attitude. I'm sure India are going to adopt that, because they've got nothing. They've got a lot to lose if they don't. They need to win matches. Maybe not necessarily the first test. They can afford to draw this. In fact, if India bat well, this will likely to be a draw. And a lot of the commentary is around that fact that, well, England have batted well, granted, but India should also bat well, and we should see a draw come out of it. And England are not going to lose, and India are not going to win, but it's likely to be a draw. So the reality is, I would argue that this is a extra. I think this is probably the pivotal day of the match, because if India can come out and bat well, game over, draw. Okay. The fact is, if England do take early wickets and have an ascendancy, it could really be disastrous for India. I don't expect that second result.
And I would like to interrupt you. That won't be a great advertisement for Test cricket if this match pans out to be a 10 draw, because as you can see in recent past, all the Test matches has produced results, and that's something good for the game, for the longer version. Means we saw it in Australia. Means all the 4 Test matches, each and every season has something to offer. Means be it the batsmen or the bowlers, everyone had. So you need pitches that have something for both the bowlers and the batsmen. You don't need a flat docile wicket like the one that we can see here in Chennai. And so I think for Test match to survive, to be more popular, you need to produce good straights which offer fair bit of assistance to both the batsmen and the bowlers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that we've got some comments here about, was England defensive not declaring yesterday? I think you've got to look deeper into the tactics and the thought behind what they're trying to do. I think I was sat there watching at the end, and I thought, Gill's just dropped that, Sharma's dropped that catch. Maybe let's get them in for 5 overs. But then, the commentator said if they're there at the close, they can get the heavy roller on this overnight, and it will just it will press the wicket and potentially break the wicket up the wicket in the morning. Yeah. And I think if India were batting, they probably wouldn't have the heavy roller on it. So, England's tactic, and Root said at the start of the day yesterday, was we're going to get 600-700, and and they're sticking to their guns. And I don't think it's a defensive move. I think they're just trying to sort of beat India into the ground as much as they can. And it's going to be interesting today, as Norman said, will be a crucial day. I think if England can get into that top order, it's certainly by no means a set opening pair. Gill's played a couple of tests and he looks brilliant. Sharma obviously averages very highly in India, but it's James Anderson with a newer SG ball. It's more of a Duke sort of style ball with a bigger seam in it, up and down bounce. He's going to bowl straight. I think it's going to be a challenge, and Norman's obviously saying I'm in this England haze, and I'm not biased in that respect. I'm just saying what I see, and I think that although India's top order will average very highly, they've probably never have any of them in their career gone out to bat on day 3 when an opposition side's got 600 on the board. I bet none of them ever done it. So it's different pressure.
I'm excited about space play, because I mean, we know with this Archer out there, he's a dangerous bowler. He's very fast. He's capable of causing some disturbance. But it's only going to bring the Indian batting cream to the top. They're going to try even harder to dominate him. And someone like Cole is going to take him on, I'm pretty sure. Cole in particular. So today is an excellent day. I'm really looking forward to it. The reason why I'm looking away from the screen, guys, is we've had our legendary guest, Barry Knight, come on by phone yesterday. He actually tried very hard to get on our first link, and then we cut out. He's on the phone with me at the moment, desperately trying to get him. We'll get Barry Knight on. And when you hear him talk, you're going to be taught by the best coach ever. Debasis, how many people do you know that coached the very first person he coached was Alan Border, followed by Mark Taylor, Steve Waugh, both Wars actually, and then Malcolm Clark. He's coached and brought to the surface 26 Australian players. Pretty special man. Wow. He's 82. He's 82 at the moment, but he's still training people on Monday nights. There are kids coming through his academy that blow me away. He says 5 words. You guys will get your pencils out and be writing down what he said. I bet. Jem, he's amazing, man. Technologically challenged, I'll say that much, at least with this streaming hub, but he's otherwise very good. So I'm just checking. I'm just checking on we've got a link for him on there. I'm just trying to work out what link that he has. I'm pretty sure it's the right link. Just we might get him on for a few minutes. Okay, back to the game.
I had a question for Debasis, if I could ask, and for the viewers in the comments. How do you think India will approach the batting? Do you think they'll come out aggressively and positively, or do you think they'll say we're just going to bat for the day, set up the game? I think that they'll probably just try and bat for the day and not look at the scoreboard and then reassess tomorrow. I think if they came out aggressively, I think England will want them to come out and be aggressive. I think that
I think they would be very positive from the word go, because both Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma are stroke players in their own right, and so I think they would be very well. And they had shown the glimpses back in Australia, means handling the likes of Hazelwood and Stark and Cummins the way they did. So I think they would be pretty positive, and which is the right approach, I would say, to be positive, means rather than be defensive and play out. Obviously, they need to play deep, means they need to bat well and bat long and bat deep. And that's the only way they can to take the score somewhere close to the English total, means or else if and I think the application will be key here. They don't. Means they shouldn't let loose balls that are on offer, because there will be a few loose balls. Obviously, there won't be any respite when you have someone like James Anderson and Jofra Archer coming in, steaming in and bowling. But then I think they need to be positive in their approach, which they should.
Just look at the top six. There are four batters in that top six that are aggressive, who are positive mindset. Gill, Sharma, Kohli and Punts. Okay, you would argue that Rahane is more conservative, and obviously Pujara is all wall. You've got four batters there that can really take the scruff of the neck of this match. And even though I'm not trying to disparage Jofra Archer, he's incredibly fast. But if he tries to throw a few too many short balls in this particular surface, those Indian batsmen will eat him for breakfast, because they're just that's their bread and butter when someone tries to bowl short on a wearing pitch.
Yeah, and I want to add to this what Chris said a few minutes back, is that there has been very few instances where the Indian batsman has gone into bat on day 3 when you have a total of in excess of 600, somewhere in the region of 600. There has not been, and it is not a regular kind of a thing for this Indian batting. So that will be the real test, how they handle this pressure. Obviously, batting first and putting up a big total, and then when you have a big total and batting on day 3, when the conditions are not that, means there will be cracks opening up. So it will be a big challenge for the Indian batsman.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Jofra Archer is still quite young in his career. He got used massively wrong in New Zealand. They basically used him as a short bowler in New Zealand, and he's at his best when he pitches it up and seems that he gets very close to the stumps. He bowls wicket to wicket, and I think in the subcontinent, when the ball doesn't do a lot, it reverses a bit. If you get wicket to wicket and try and hit the stumps and get LBWs, that's where you're at your most effective. So I think you'll see a different side to Archer. I don't think he's going to be running in and just bowling short. I think he's going to be pitching it up, trying to get LBWs and bowls. And I think India's bowlers, especially Sharma, was pitch it outside the line of off stump and reverse it back into the top of off. I think what you'll see from Anderson and Archer is pitch it on the stumps and try and nibble it a bit or reverse it each way and bring each sort of edge of the bat into play. And I think that there'll be more LBWs. I think that England seamers will look to take LBWs and bowls, whereas I think Sharma was more trying to hit the top of off.
Okay, there's one regret that I'm going to say England's going to have today. I want this section of the recording to be replayed, Debasis and Chris. Listen to Norman's wise words. The bowlers that should have played for England in this particular situation were Anderson and Broad. Jofra will be found wanting despite his great pace. Anderson and Broad, yin and yang, with their ability to control the ball and bowl that line length you're talking about the stumps, they're the two that I would have in this match, and they could break through India. Jofra Archer will have problems, and Anderson can't do it on his own, even though he'll bowl very well. That's the mistake. They should have had their top of the line two, who have got almost thousands of wickets between them. They're the two that I would have had in this particular match. That is the key to England's bowling attack, which will be missing. And
one more thing I would like to add is that Jasprit Bumrah did mention on day 1 that the saliva ban, it has got something to do in shaping the ball for reverse swing, but that will be key for England fast bowlers, how to handle the ball, how to use the ball, because with the ban on saliva, obviously we did watch the English bowlers do wonderfully well back in England during the series against West Indies and Pakistan. But in India, with the SG ball, with the saliva ban, I wonder how that will be key, how to use the ball.
You can still use sweat, I think. Is that right? I think you can
Yeah,
still...
you can use the sweat, but Jasprit Bumrah did mention that he found it very difficult with the saliva ban to make use the ball to reverse swing.
No,
we could always ask. We could just look. I can make a quick call and ask Cameron Bancroft, Dave Warner, and Steve Smith. Maybe they can help us. You reckon there's a good chance? We can ask them. I mean, this is a live report. They might come on any minute now. We might be able to get the gossip.
Don't cheat.
How to hide sandpaper in your pocket? I'm not sure. It's worth having. No, you wouldn't believe what's transpiring while we're talking. Barry Knight's very close to joining us. In fact,
we've got
magic word Norman's just said. we actually got Aparna online, and the reason why we got Aparna online, she's going to explain what's been happening. Aparna, hello Aparna, joining us. Have you got Barry ready to come on?
Yes, I thought he's on already, hasn't he?
No, he's not. No, he's not.
We've got to go in 5 minutes. I've got to go and watch Jimmy take 5 wickets.
I have spent literally 6 hours, and I'm exaggerating, but at least good 2 hours trying to get it working, and it's working now. So let me get him on.
Okay, I'll go and get him. Go and get him quick.
Okay, I'll go get him.
Okay. All right.
I think that a key thing we haven't mentioned is that we've mentioned Archer and Anderson is Ben Stokes. He's going to bowl some overs. And he's going to take a lot of pressure off Archer's over and Stokes' over. And I think that if India had Siraj in there or that third seamer, I think that they would have bowled better, because I think that you take the pressure off the other two. Kohli could only use Sharma and Bumrah to take wickets. You've got to try, and if you had a Siraj there, he could bowl 15 overs, 20 overs a day and bowl really tight and really try and soak up the... but and I think that's going to could make a difference. If our seamers can go at 2 and over, where Nadeem and Sundar went at 4.5 and over, I think that really adds the pressure. And I think that's what the tactic will be, is to try and keep it as tight as possible, and see if India will go at the spinners, because I think it will bring the spinners into the game more if they have to try and score from, if they have to be positive, because it was turning and it was doing a bit. So. No, I'm interested to see. I said we could be sat here in the day, and India could be 300 for 1, and it'll be and I'll still be sitting here saying the same things. But I think
thank God we haven't got Simon Willis on the phone here, because I'd be earbashed from both ends by you and Simon and Chris. You've been fantastic, but we're getting a lot of comments, so they're enjoying your little discussion here. It's really pleasant. I'm really enjoying.
So all I'd say is that I think that the Indian fans obviously love their team. But just because you average 50 in India, when normally if you bat first, it's flat. And usually when you're batting second, you've bowled a side out for 150 and it's still flat. So this is just a different challenge for India. And they've not had it for a while, I don't think.
This is such an intriguing day. I'm super excited. I'm actually more excited about today for some reason than this Australia-India series. Why? Because India are now going to have to really pull their finger out with a side that should. They've got no excuses, have they? They've got a great batting lineup. They've got no excuses not to get a lot of runs.
I think at the start of the series, we sort of agreed that if England can match India batting-wise, if Root can match Kohli, if Stokes can match Rahane, they've got a chance. And at the moment, they're going to match India batting-wise in this test. And I think I saw that no side has ever lost a test match scoring over 500 in the first innings. So I think it's India's the onus is on India to make sure they don't lose this test. And I think if you offered India a draw now, they'd have to take it, because I don't think they can win it.
I've just got a message from Virat Kohli. He said, Chris, you're very smug, but just watch this space.
I'm not smug at all. Trust me, I'll be more smug if we win the test. I'm just trying to be realistic, and I think that it's England probably. I still think India win the series. I'm not sitting here saying India won't win the series. I'm 100% thinking, well, not 100% think, but England are just showing that they've got a bit of fight in them, and I think that it's I think it's a good test for India. You're going to see just how good this India side is under pressure, and they showed it in Australia. But this is very different, and it's a good test to see how good they are.
And if anyone would say that England is not a good side, he would be living in a fool's world. Means obviously this England team is a damn good team. It's a damn good team. It's obviously, you look at their batting lineup and also the bowling they have. Obviously, Josh Butler leaving after this test match and Johnny Bairstow not available for the first 2 matches. So I think that means obviously this weird bit of rotation policy by the England selectors. Obviously you do consider obviously the bio bubble. The players have to stay for months and months. That does take its toll. But when you play a big series, and especially against a team like India, who are the number 1 side, so you need your best playing 11. Means obviously Johnny Bairstow any day. Johnny Bairstow in these conditions is a must, and also Josh Butler. So those 2 players means without, especially the second test. But having said that, obviously Joe Root has led by example and getting a big run in the first test match. That will set the tone for the English side. That will give the confidence in the dressing room that is required. Means obviously when you're taking a team like India.
No, yeah, for sure.
Chris did mention Ben Foakes, though, Josh, as a very worthy replacement. So they may not lose too much in the keeping department and batting. But I agree Bairstow should be in the side.
But what is that, Chris? I just need to ask Chris, what do you make out of this rotation policy that the England selectors have adopted?
I get it. I understand it. We've got 17 test matches this year and a World 2020 in India. I think Johnny Bairstow is an interesting one. He's a very good player of spin. He's averaged less than 30 in the last sort of 3 years in Test cricket, and he got found out in English conditions. So, although I get he's a good player of spin, he's not a shoo-in, and he's very much a horses for courses selection in the subcontinent. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think that I'd be asking Butler or Bairstow to play in the second test. But you'll see Foakes is the best keeper in England by a country mile, and India will see what a proper wicketkeeper can do. I think he'll be the best keeper on the show in the series comfortably, and he's a very good player of spin as well. He was player of the season in series in Sri Lanka, and got a Test match 100 over there on debut. So yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how we go today.
Sorry to interrupt, Chris. Sorry, Norman, he's on backstage. Can you get him in?
No, you're the only one that was backstage. In fact, he's still not there.
On his screen, he's backstage. He's saying.
Has he got the right link?
Because he's not. I would. If he was backstage, I would see him, and he's not backstage. You're backstage, but he's not backstage.
We've got to go, Norman. It's 5-2.
Okay, listen, guys. Aparna
get 600.
So, Chris and Debasis, I want to both thank you. I'm going to keep on the line and talk because you know what? We've got a lot of people. We've got more people listening in now, 2 minutes out of the game than were at the beginning. So I'm going to talk to them a bit longer, and I'm going to try and bring Barry Knight, guys. So, Chris, I know you want to watch the real business, and Debasis as well. But I'll just talk with Barry. I'm going to wait for Barry to come back online. So thank you for both joining us, guys. It's been fantastic. Chris, you are brilliant. Don't worry. I love having you on. Debasis equally as so. I mean, look, you're both just simply not as good looking as me. I have to just say that up front. The comments we're getting is Norman's the best looking. I can't control that. Somebody called Norm Klotz is the one. I'm not sure who he is. Maybe he's a fan of me. I'm not sure. But anyway, so guys, you guys, thank you guys. Appreciate it big time. We're going to get you both back on shortly.
Can we
outside of this thing? Thank you guys. I'll keep talking. You guys can leave now and watch.
Can we have a prediction from Debasis? I've got my prediction. I texted it to Simon Willis last night, so I won't change my prediction. But I wanted to know what Debasis thinks will happen today first.
It will be a draw for me.
Scores at the close of play?
Scores at the close of play.
Scores at the close of play? I think India will be somewhere close to 300 with the loss of 4 wickets.
Okay. I think England will get 575, 580. And I think that India will be between 230 and 250 for 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Okay, I'm going to stick my neck out, and people are going to laugh. People laughed when Norman said that India would win at the Gabba. So sometimes you've got to go with your gut here. And I think that Jimmy Anderson will take 3 wickets, and we'll be sitting here tomorrow, and India will be trying to find a way to negotiate the last 2 days.
So 6 or 7 for 230, 250.
Yeah.
Debasis says 4 for 300.
4 for 300, and one of the top 4 getting 100.
Norman Koshnak says 1 for 300 Sharma not out 154.
On this wicket, not a chance.
Sharma not out 154.
Sharma's a flat track bully.
And Pujara will be not out 30 off 400 balls.
I don't see Sharma having an impact in this test. I think that he's a very good player on very flat wickets. I think.
No, I didn't say Ishan Sharma. I said Rohit Sharma.
I agree. No, I think that Kohli, Pujara, and Rahane are the key in this test for India.
Rohit Sharma 154 not out.
Pujara for me.
Yeah. I think that I don't think that Rohit Sharma's at his best on these spinning wickets. I think that he scores a lot of his runs on the flatter wickets.
Hang on, I've just got Rohit Sharma on the line. Yeah,
Tell him he dropped that catch last night. I mean, you would have caught that with one hand, Norman. That catch last night.
What was that, Rohit? Yeah. I know. I'll tell him, Rohit. Okay, all right. So just be wary. I've got them all on the phone here. They're just ringing. My phone is hot with calls. They shouldn't be ringing me, by the way, because there's some sort of anti-corruption thing going on, but they still make the occasions. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you both later. I'm going to continue talking for a while. I love you both to death. And my prediction, could you write them down, please?
We've got it on video. I know Debasis said 300 for 4. I'm 260 for 6 or 7. There we go.
Yeah.
He said, okay. And I'm 1 for 300.
300.
Sharma, 154, not out. And Nilakshi Sharma, who we both know, has just said India will be 1 for 400. So
I tell you what, if Sharma gets 100 in the first innings of this test match, if someone posts me an India shirt or an India cap, I will wear it on the next stream. If Sharma gets 100, I'm that confident.
I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you the India shirt if Sharma gets 100.
He won't.
I'll send you Chris, I'll send you a skirt which matches the shirt.
I think Sharma will be caught behind Anderson for less than not many.
Ooh.
There we go. That's my predictions. And I'm more than happy to hold my hands up tomorrow when India 500 for 2. And so I got that one wrong, Norman.
All right. Well, they're starting now. They must be out there. I think best they're on. All right, guys. See you both later. I'm going to stay on.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Right.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Now, everyone, we're still online. Don't you go yet. We've still got Barry Knight coming on phone with Aparna. The reality is this match is starting. Yes, it is starting now. You can still watch it. You've got Bess and Leach and bat. That's not exactly exciting batting, to be very honest with you. You can miss out that for a few minutes. But you just heard the predictions of Chris Vernon and some 6 or 7 for 250, 260. Debasis Sen, who was a very learned Indian sports editor from Xtratime, he's very well respected, said, what was it, some 300, I think he said. I also think 300, but he said 4 wickets in, I think 1 wicket down. So we'll see how we go. And Nilakshi Sharma's saying goodbye. Everyone else, guys, what we're going to be talking a bit longer. Hopefully we're going to see Barry Knight. Now, Barry Knight, just to let you know, he's coming on deck very soon. And Barry Knight is a man who, he's 82 years of age. It might sound certainly of a great age. He's actually been a coach and has been involved with cricket for 7 decades. He's running a great book, which will be coming out later this year. The man, his very first coaching effort was Alan Border, followed by the likes of Mark Taylor and a number of other people. Got Aparna online. Aparna? Yeah, we still haven't got Barry.
Yeah, he's coming. I'm telling you. All
right.
Hang on. You just stay there.
All right. I'll talk while you're doing that. So Barry Knight is also somebody who has coached 26 Australian players from scratch. 26. So think about that. You've got the likes of, as I said to you, first and foremost, you've got Alan Border, Mark Taylor, both Steve and Mark Waugh. You also had the likes of Michael Clark, a huge number of New South Wales players. In fact, that's where his mainstay was. Had an amazing location there where it was actually a place where he was very much breaking ground. He actually coached Australia players indoor for the very first time, video recordings for the very first time, analysis of their batting, where their strengths and weaknesses were, replaying it with the players, dissecting their batting. He gave them great tips. He also was involved with a lot of the very famous people during the Packer era, Kerry Packer, the whole Australian team there, which was Ian Chappell, Greg Chappell, the like, all came to him and would see how to bowl a short ball, they would use a tennis ball to bounce it around the head to try and get them used to the pace and feel of a ball. And it was quite incredible. The ability of this man is second to none. He is a great coach, and he still has words of wisdom. He's still coaching every Monday. I'm hoping to get him on the phone. He's been struggling for the last hour to do this. So if you're willing to wait, he'll be here in a minute. Again, back to a lot of the comments. Let's go. Soumyadeep Dutta. Anderson will be hammered by Sharma. He is basically going to be in the clouds, is Anderson. You've also got the likes of comments that the reality is that you have a lot of people from San Francisco. Deep Barrett is actually from San Francisco in California, USA, where in fact Priti Upala is from. He's one of our commentators. The reality, we have a lot of people that have made comments about England winning the match by 9 wickets. That's a bold statement. It really depends on how India bat, of course. But how could you not bat well? I mean, I don't want to overstate the fact, but you've got Pujara and Rahane who can bat long and steadily and not get many runs, but they'll bat and bat long. You've got Kohli as the aggressor with the likes of Punt who can do that. The only thing is with Robert Sharma, he just has to play a steady match. He can take all day and still play aggressively when necessary, especially against spinners. I think he'll have the better of Best and Leach if necessary. The true indication of India's bowling will be James Anderson. James Anderson early could take a lot of wickets if he bowls stump to stump. He could get a lot of dismissals that are bowled or LBW. That'll be the key. Gill is a fantastic technician, a young fellow, but will struggle if Anderson gets some sort of movement or at least some early swing. Unlikely to get much, but James Anderson's capable. I said earlier that I thought James Anderson should actually be bowling with Broad. I think that would have been a lethal pairing on this day if they bowled together. Jofra Archer, well, he certainly is fast, but other than his pace, he could be found wanting if the ball is short on this pitch or too full, because these Indian batsmen will murder that type of bowling. Yes, they've got Ben Stokes there. He'll toil away very hard, positively, that's for sure. He'll be aggressive as well. So it's going to be a great battle. I'm looking forward to that part of the game. Early on with Leach and the likes of Bess, they bowled well in Sri Lanka, but very different batting performance there. I don't know whether, I don't think there'll be any hope of them dominating early. They might have some luck. The thing with Bess's bowling, Bess bowled a lot of balls which were lofted. They were very flighty, and the Sri Lankans played the wrong line or out very cheaply in the very, very first innings. Other than that, Sri Lanka batted relatively well against English bowlers, and Anderson had effect. So I would argue that this is going to be it's going to be a great, great day. And I'm saying that, it's going to be a day where batting's going to be the key. I'm going to give it just 1 or 2 more minutes to see where these fellows get on, and we'll be very excited about having Barry Knight. Please, guys, you'll see how well you'll learn from this man. He had the opportunity to bowl to Sir Garfield Sobers. In fact, the very last wicket that was taken, the last dismissal was actually the one that Barry Knight took, and he got out of all people Sir Garfield Sobers. Now, if ever there was a batsman that you would want to bat for your team, other than the likes of a Bradman or a Tendulkar or a Kohli, you'd have Sir Garfield Sobers. He can also bowl fantastically. And really, he and Viv Richards were the 2 most notable West Indies legends over the years. And there were a number of bowlers that were certainly legendary as well, but as far as especially batting, you could not beat Sir Vivian Richards and Sir Garfield Sobers. And rightfully, they both got the name Sir in front of their name. As to Curtly Ambrose and Richie Richards, I think they've got Sirs as well. But we're going to be talking to Mervyn Richards in a later episode. I've actually spoken to him already. That's Viv Richards' younger brother by 1 year. And Merv will bring a number of people onto the show, including hopefully his brother Viv and Curtly and Richie from that island, the Antiguan island of Antigua and Barbuda. And we may even get, with a bit of luck, the Barbadian pair of Sir Garfield Sobers and Wes Hall. Okay, we're just not getting him on yet. I'm just waiting up another minute. We've got the game started, and I'll just see if there's any score update while we're waiting. And any of your questions that you'd like me to answer, let's have a quick look at the questions. Again, Anderson is certainly the key to England's bowling attack. Jofra Archer is, again, a form of shock tactic. He could be that good at bowling in short bursts, but I've got this feeling India's got their measure. I certainly haven't. I don't know how Jofra Archer is going to show his worth today, because he's going to be up against it wicket-wise. Admittedly, they've got a big score to defend. He can go for it. He can be rather expensive, because his job will be to take wickets and nothing more than that. I'm just going to just check one more time to see where they're coming, because they have Barry on the phone will be great. It's something of a, that's the problem with a number of the legendary players. They're obviously getting somewhat older. They're technologically challenged. StreamYard's a very finicky thing. They can be something that you can use and use well, and you can have your chances to go on it. There's a question here of Natarajan Vizwaran, and he says, could Leach put a leash on Indian batting? He might slow them down. He's fairly, both Bess and Leach are very steady on the stumps type bowlers, so they'll certainly control them, but India's conditions certainly favour the Indian batters. That means they can take their time, get their iron, and anything loose from those two will be hammered. That's the key. It's going to be exciting to see those two bat. Actually, I'm pretty excited about how they're going to bat. I'm just not getting anyone coming on. Such a pity. We've worked literally for 3 hours to get Barry Knight on this hookup. 3 hours. From very early in the morning, Australian time. The previous day he got on, but there was a problem with his mic. If we can achieve getting him on the face-to-face discussion, he was on the phone. I had my phone here, and we could talk to him, and he was great for that purpose. Please ask me some questions, guys. Ask me some questions while I'm online here. I've got a number of people still online. Ask me questions. I'm watching the screen here. And Natarajan gave me a question. Not the Natarajan, it's a person by the name of Natarajan. I really want your take, because our viewership's important to us. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to provide you with an unbiased report. I'm getting as many people as like tomorrow. I'm going to have Jeff Thompson from Australia. We're trying to get a number of other major people involved. And Debasis, who was on the screen today, is in contact with a number of Indian ex-players. He's looking to bring them on. And if you're not watching Xtratime, you're missing out, because Xtratime has some great bulletins. I'm sure. How many people here watch Xtratime? That's a great series, along with Sports Today. They're probably my two premier channels, and there's a few others, but I think Xtratime and Sports Today have both. Xtratime have Debasis Sen, and Sports Today have the one and only Bore Majunda, and they have Dip Desgupta, they have Pragyan Ojar, they have Ridhima Pathak. They're all amazing people. And again, we're talking, and I think both Sushil Shukla has actually mentioned about pressure is always the big problem. I would argue that's generally the case. It's only the first test match, so the pressure is there, but probably not as intense as what it will be later. India's going to actually feed off the pressure. They're going to want the pressure, because it's actually something that they will enjoy greatly. And there is an expectation of India to do well, yes, but they've got plenty of people that can actually take charge. We'll leave Rishabh Pant to later, also Kohli to later. I think the top three should be batting for the majority of the day if they go to plan. Gill clearly is a champion. Rohit Sharma on his day is one of the best batsmen in the world, and Pujara is an absolute rock. Those three, to me, if they can blunt Anderson and Jofra early, and then bring out the spinners into the attack and take care of them, then England will struggle because of the conditions as much as what India has struggled in the first 2 days. So that's the key for me. All right, guys, I'm going to just give it 1 more minute, and then last chance to see what we can do. I'm just going to ring Aparna and just ask her. You'll hear me talking to Aparna. She's been on a few times. She has worked tirelessly to get Barry Knight on, and then she's just declined the call. So we've also got, I just want to let you know about some of the things I'm doing. I've put together an 8-part series on the IPL, going through every single team. You'll see one's been posted, and just shortly after the test match in a few days' time, I'll post the other 7. So I've gone through all of the 8 teams, such as obviously the first one I've gone through is Chennai Super Kings. That's posted. Delhi Capitals. We've got the likes of Kings 11 Punjab, moving on to Kolkata Knight Riders, and then on to Mumbai Indians, and the follow-on for the rest of the teams. Those 8 series will actually go into who's retained, who's released, some of the potential players that would fit best with the teams in the auction on the 18th of February. So I'll be talking about that heavily as well. We'll have Mervyn Richards from the West Indies. He will talk heavily certainly about the West Indies legends that he can come across and be able to talk with and together with over a coffee early in the morning. Question here, Rajan has also asked about any idea why Coldy has been excluded by Coley. Now, I'm not able to answer that question because Nadeem is not done very well. I think very difficult task for him to come in. Coldy may have been more expensive, perhaps. I'm not sure, but he would have taken wickets. He would have definitely have taken wickets. And to take wickets would have been a great advantage. He would have tempted perhaps Stokes earlier. Would have been a great matchup to see Coldeep bowl to Root. Root batted fantastically, but Coldeep may have thrown the X factor in. They didn't have that. Ashwin still bowled very well, but he wasn't really well supported by Sundar and Nadeem. They didn't do badly, but they didn't have enough arsenal in there to attack, and they needed someone at the other end of Ashwin to help attack, and they didn't have that happen. That was a release valve, as you saw. I think the stats were the Bumrahs and the Ashwins went for very few runs, and they were handled by the England batters with a great stonewall effect, such as Sipley and then Brute. And then when the others came on, the two young spinners, they were taken advantage of by the England batters. So that's a good tactic. It's a Silverwood tactic. That's the tactic of their coach. He was magnificent. What he said, what he is as a coach, as what Chris Vernon said earlier, he certainly grinds away. But I don't think there's much of a hope of getting them out in that mode. So look, it is. I think we might let you guys go. I'm going to just let you guys go, and I think we're going to have a great session of cricket. Please enjoy. It's 15 minutes into the match. I hope you enjoy the broadcast, guys. Come on shortly later. I'll have Barry Knight, hopefully at a lunchtime break. Perhaps I can talk to Barry Knight live then. And the question from VJ is, why could England score this many runs? Is it something to do with the captaincy of bowlers? Did they deliver, or the England batsmen were too good? I think the conditions were too bad. In other words, they were batting friendly. Perhaps two spinner selections they could have had. Colleague was the issue, but England just had everything go their way. They had a great wicket. And look, take the work of Root, and he's an absolute purple patch. Double century, very late 100, and another double century. Bradman-esque, so I think he's made the difference. Simply batted well, and so did Ben Stokes, but it was another batsman that admirably because of the wicket conveying a batting pitch. But yeah, that's the question there, VJ. I think that's what we've got. All right, guys, go and enjoy the match. Now I'm going to sign off. We will try and see whether Barry Knight will join us. So everyone, please enjoy the match. Come back shortly. Hopefully at lunch we'll have Barry Knight. How about that, guys? So take care. This is Norman Kochnick here with not extra time. One of the other programs I want to work on, Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. That's my YouTube channel. You're all on there. Please view and like as you do, and then share wildly on your WhatsApp posts, whatever you want to do. Get people in to be able to enjoy these great sessions that I'm working hard to get done for you. And comment as you do. I'm going to make feedback every single time. If you see last night's broadcast with a lady called Harini Rana, she answered every single question that was on there and did it beautifully. So watch that replay if you like. Okay, again, this is Norman Kochnick for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. Saying goodbye for now. Come back at lunch for Barry Knight.